next big story that we are tracking here at 9 p.m. and this is to do with the island nation. Now, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has survived the watered-down version of a no-confidence vote in the first day of reconvening of the parliament in the island nation. The opposition had in fact proposed that parliament bypass the procedure and take up the motion censuring President Gotabaya Rajapaksa for the nation's worst economic crisis. But the ruling party defeated the move to urgently debate the motion with a 119 to 68 vote. Now remember, the opposition's move was prompted by the growing dissent against the president due to the current economic crisis in the country, which as per the opposition is majorly due to the introducing of untimely tax cuts and also prohibiting the use of chemical fertilizers, which resulted in crop failures in Sri Lanka. To take us through what exactly is the situation there in the island nation, I'm now joined on the broadcast by my colleague Padma Rao. Padma, thank you so much for taking time out and talking about what the situation is on ground. Because while on the one hand, we continue to talk about what is going on in Sri Lanka, what is going on in the corridors of power, but you would be the best possible person to take stock of the situation on ground. While on the one hand, we talk about these long queues that people are made to wait in for fuel and milk and other necessities, there is also another side to this entire situation where possibly the people have also, settled with what is happening in the country, because I just saw a post on social media where there was also a wedding that was very happily being celebrated in Sri Lanka. So what is exactly happening on ground? Just take us through that, Padma.
Well, there are weddings taking place. I mean, yesterday was Vesak, the Buddha's birthday day, the day he attained nirvana, the day he died. So, people have been through such a tough time in these last 2 months. So they are, obviously, there are these little joys and these little events that give them some pleasure. But the celebrations are very, very muted. There's not enough to celebrate with. Sri Lanka is just rock bottom broke. And what we're seeing on the streets, we've been, out of the fashionable areas of Colombo first, and we went to the middle class areas of Colombo where people, daily wages, have no work because their employers, cannot give them any work. And prices have shot up, dal costs 600 rupees a kilo and things like that. And today, all day today, we saw people coming from the outskirts of Colombo into the more fashionable areas of Colombo to stand in lines with gas cylinders, 75-year-old grandmothers, elderly people with gas cylinders just waiting and waiting and waiting in line, and finally to be told that there's no gas. However, there's a bit of good news. 2 ships which were waiting full of LPG gas, they have finally been paid, and they've brought a total of 5,600 metric tons of LPG gas, of which 2,800 metric tons will be unloaded from one ship, and from tomorrow they expect to resume and distribute about 80,000 gas cylinders. But this is a country of 22 million citizens, so the question really is, how long is it going to last? And meanwhile, as you rightly pointed out, that the debates and the discussion and this endless, questioning and re-questioning of each other and who's going to join which government and who's not, going to support whom, this carries on in Parliament, and it's really quite astounding. Having said that, the Prime Minister has made 2 announcements. He says he will privatize the Sri Lankan Airlines, which is, causing them even more losses, and interest rates are going to be hiked. Now, how the interest rates being hiked plays out, that remains to be seen, because as you also pointed out, one of the very unpopular moves that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa made, other than the chemical fertilizer, was, bringing down taxes. This was meant to be a populist move which he had promised his voters, and it proved to be absolutely disastrous because it came at a time when Sri Lanka's external debt was already mammoth. So this is in a nutshell what's happening here. There is a disconnect between what's happening in Parliament and what's happening on the streets of Sri Lanka. It's the people who are suffering, and their problems need to be addressed most urgently.
Absolutely. Padma, thank you so much for joining us with all those details and what exactly is the situation on ground in the island nation. We'd leave it at that.